Noseriding, perhaps the pinnacle of longboarding. When done well, it looks so easy, like the wave was made for the board to just naturally lock in. In this edit of the Sunday Glide, we'll be discussing noseriding, both the good news, the bad news, and then some tips to help progress your noseriding and push past a plateau. So I just wanted to touch on a little bit about my experience with noseriding. So I guess when I was first starting to longboard, the peak was learning to noseride, and it's just what I wanted to do. I'd watch video clips of my favorite surfers and break down all of their movements on the videotapes that I had. Watching Joel Tudor and CJ Nelson, Harrison Roach and all of these guys. And amongst their beautiful surfing, their power and their flow, being able to put the waves together really nicely, their noseriding stood out to me as well. Since then, I've been addicted ever since, and it's been something that I've worked on for years and years and years now, and it's probably the funnest aspect of surfing for me. So the good news about noseriding is when it's done correctly, it looks super easy, and it's probably one of the best things, in my opinion, to watch in longboarding as well. It's the best feeling you can have on a longboard almost. So when you get a really nice critical locked in hang 10, you feel like you're defying gravity a little bit, and it's a pretty insane experience. And so it's something that we're always chasing and always after. Another thing about noseriding is that it separates us from the shortboarders. So I think it's a really important and unique aspect of surfing that only us longboarders really have access to. I think it should be that one thing, or it should be one of the things that we really try and strive towards for longboarding. I think it's an extremely important part, and no matter what longboard you're on, a nice critical nose ride in the pocket is one of the best things that we can aim to do. I guess if we're to touch on the bad news, I suppose with noseriding, it can be extremely difficult. I know from personal experience, you might get so far with your noseriding, being able to hang 5, and then we reach a point where it's difficult to move past that, to progress ourselves beyond the point where we're comfortable. And so today I did want to speak a little bit about what we can do to move past some of those plateaus. Some other things that can make it a little tricky is that noseriding is really hard in some waves. So if you've not got a steady point break like Noosa, like Malibu, some of these waves where it's quite mechanical and really predictable, it can be tricky. It can be tricky to get that rinse and repeat style of practice that would be beneficial. I mean, this is one of the hard things about surfing. We can't repeat things all that much because every wave is different, and unlike a skate park where you can go and practice your tricks over and over and over again, surfing is so much about picking the right waves. The other thing is sometimes our boards just aren't really geared towards long critical nose rides. It's something that I've worked with my shaper Chizza at South Coast Surfboards on quite a bit. So we do have the tail on our boards quite wide, and just making sure that the board is designed in a way that's conducive to nose riding and extending those nose rides out. I like a wider nose, a wider tail, and of course a little bit of lift and kick in the board as well, particularly towards the tail, to really lock that water onto the back part of the board to create that lift, which I guess creates that feeling of that really locked in critical nose ride. There's a few really key things that I think aren't spoken about quite a lot that I would like to touch on in this video, so we'll do a bit of a dive into those today. For anything that you want more, clarification with, I'm always happy. If you want to comment below, I'll be able to respond to you guys. And of course, I do also have a coaching business where we do one-on-one online coaching as well. So we'll be able to, do some feedback with you there as well to see how we can get some better results. And the other thing that I think can be tricky is maybe going for nose riding before there's a few other fundamentals that we haven't yet, progressed with. A few of these are just dictating your position on the wave, and the other things there are the cross steps. So if your cross stepping is not really comfortable, and especially if you're not comfortable coming back off the nose or coming back with your cross stepping, that can be somewhere where people get tripped up a little bit as well, where quite often we'll see people get to the nose, hanging 5, hanging 10, and they're stuck, and they can't do that quick run back to put themselves in a nice stable position. So that's something I would like to talk a little bit about here as well. So here's 3 main tips. I don't want to do too many because it can become a little bit, risk of being a bit too comprehensive, but here's 3 main tips that I like to use, and hopefully that you can use to help yourself out with progressing your nose riding from where it already is, learn to nose ride from the beginning, or push yourself through a plateau to go to the next level of your nose riding. So the first thing that I wanted to speak about is the step and reset. So the step and reset is essentially a way of approaching the nose in a way that we're not going to be putting ourselves off balance whilst we're walking there. Now, what this involves is taking 2 steps first, and then we consider our position, and then we go on with the next 2 steps. But there's a little part in between there as well that we do need to be focusing on. For this, I'll take you into the backyard and we'll show you through some of the practical elements of this. Alright, so this is a little run through of the step and reset method to getting to the nose. So what we want to start with doing is essentially making sure that we take those first 2 steps, and then we're going to consider how far we're moving forward after that. So we take the first 2 steps, and what often happens here is people will rush straight towards the nose from here. Now they might be off balance, they might not have their feet in the center of the board, and they might have leaned too far on that inside or outside rail. So if you take those steps really quickly, we might not have any success getting to the nose of the board for that reason. So if we come back here and we take the first 2 steps forwards, what we then do is stop, but not only stop, but widen that stance by bringing that back foot back. Now we're in a really stable position to then push off that back foot and continue that cross step forwards in a nice balanced way. This reset here is also really important for making sure that we can actually stabilize that board once again before we continue forwards. So again, what that looks like here is we take those first 2 steps, we reset, and then we're coming forwards to the nose as well. Now, we're not going to watch every surfer and see them do this all of the time, but I find particularly if we're getting more comfortable getting to the nose, we need to make sure firstly that our board's really well balanced and really well positioned and centered. So this is a great way to make sure that we can do that. Now, if we talk a little bit about the positioning as well, you need to be positioned high on the wave, especially if you're on the shoulder. Anytime you're on the shoulder of the wave and sitting low, it won't work because we're not going to have enough drag on that tail or enough water pressing down on the tail, and the nose of the board is going to be going towards the curve of the wave down in the flats, and you're very, very likely to nosedive. You'll notice in the best nose rides, we've got a really nice high position, and we're going to be traveling straight along that wave, and that's because the way that the wave is breaking onto the tail stops that board from the nose from dropping, and so we can continue with that nice straight line, and that's that beautiful locked in feeling. The only other thing to that is the more critical you get, the lower you can be positioned on the wave. Again, if we look at how the tail is positioned into the wave, when we're right under the curl of the wave, we might need to be a bit lower so that we can fit our board underneath the lip, where in the most critical position, getting that lift, best feeling ever. Now, the other thing that we do need to consider is making sure that you're able to hold your line. So this is for extending your nose ride. So say you can get to hang 5, you can get to hang 10, but at the moment you're essentially at the wave's will. So you're just going to be nose riding for as long as you can, as long as the wave will allow, and we're not yet able to dictate our position on the nose enough to extend our nose rides beyond what we could do otherwise. what we need to make sure we're doing is, if you think about when we're in a locked in position at the top of the wave, if we step on that outside rail, or if we put pressure on that outside rail, we're going to be tilting the board towards the bottom of the wave, and we're going to track down the bottom of the wave as well. What we need to do, conversely, is to put weight on the inside rail anytime we're thinking that that board is starting to drop. What that does is essentially, you can think of it like a little bit of a bottom turn, or you're steering the board back into the face of the wave, so that instead of taking a downwards trajectory, we put the board on the inside rail and we carry through a straight line across that wave. Again, staying locked in, keeping the tail locked in, and making sure that we've got that nice critical lift in underneath the nose, so that we can prolong or extend that nose ride for as long as possible. Alrighty, so I hope that little rundown of the things that can help was useful. Again, just let me know if there's anything else I can be a little bit more thorough with, or if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation about any of that, I'm happy to. Obviously, nose riding, as I said at the start, is one of the, I guess, the peak, the best things that we can do on a longboard. Super fun, but I can also understand it can be quite frustrating in getting to that next stage or pushing yourself beyond where you're at the moment. So yeah, go for it, put all this into practice, and yeah, let me know how you go, because that'd be good. From here, what I'll do is I've got a little edit of some of my favorite nose rides I've had over the past, year or so. So this is a little bit of a nose ride edit that, I'm quite excited about. So again, let me know what you think. Yeah, hope you guys are getting waves, and we'll see you soon. Yoo!
Line, hang 10, pink is up and riding. Here goes Ben Considine, holding on to that nose. Goofy footer, serving on his forehand and stomping it for a 10 up into the left. This is what longboarding is about, ladies and gentlemen.